This is the most ingenious and astonishing bank robbery the world has ever seen. Not because of how much they stole, but because of how they pulled it off. An impeccable plan that left the police completely baffled. And it all begins with Dalton Russell staring at you and saying,
"Recently I planned and set in motion events to execute the perfect bank robbery."
Dalton and his team arrive at the Manhattan Trust Bank, blending into the bustling Wall Street morning, disguised as painters. In white jumpsuits and carrying paint cans, they look so ordinary that no one gives them a second glance. When Dalton enters the bank, his calm demeanor masks the chaos about to be unleashed. In seconds, he disables the security cameras with practiced precision, and his team efficiently locks the doors, trapping everyone inside. The first wave of panic sweeps through the bank as employees and customers alike are forced to the floor at gunpoint. The thieves' swift, controlled movements make it clear they have done this before, or at least planned for every contingency. Outside, a police officer notices smoke coming from the bank. Uncertain if it's an accident or something more sinister, he approaches cautiously, only for Dalton to appear at the door. With a chillingly serene tone, Dalton announces,
"I have got hostages,"
and warns that he will not hesitate to kill them if the police get any closer. The officer immediately radios for backup.
Yo, back up, shit, back up!
Soon, the bank is surrounded by a fleet of patrol cars, their sirens cutting through the tense Manhattan air. The growing crowd of onlookers adds to the pressure as news of the heist spreads like wildfire. Meanwhile, Arthur Case, the powerful owner of Manhattan Trust Bank, receives news of the robbery.
"Sir, there's a robbery in progress at one of our branches."
Normally unshakable, Arthur's reaction betrays his unease. His hands tremble slightly as he processes the implications. It's not just the robbery that worries him, but what lies inside the bank. Arthur quickly contacts Madeline White, a shrewd and calculating crisis manager known for her ability to handle delicate matters with ruthless efficiency. He demands her help to protect a specific safety deposit box, a box containing a family heirloom of immense personal and financial value. If the contents are exposed, it could ruin everything, Arthur hints. But when Madeline presses for details, he remains evasive. She warns him that if he lies or withholds critical information, their deal will be off. Reluctantly, Arthur agrees. However, the tension in his voice suggests he is hiding more than he admits. At the scene of the heist, two experienced hostage negotiation detectives, Keith Frazier and Bill Mitchell, are introduced. The sharp-eyed and unflappable Detective Frazier is eager to prove himself after facing recent scrutiny over a missing evidence fund. His partner Mitchell balances Frazier's intensity with a more pragmatic approach. As they race to the scene, Captain Darius briefs them on the developing crisis. "Unknown number of suspects and unknown number of hostages," he grimly admits, emphasizing the complexity of the situation. The lack of information adds another layer of uncertainty to an already volatile standoff. Inside the bank, Dalton and his team execute their plan with unsettling precision. First, they divide the hostages into two groups, employees and customers, asserting control over the situation. Dalton demands that all phones and keys be surrendered. When an employee nervously claims he left his phone at home, Dalton coldly searches his office and finds it, revealing the lie. Without hesitation, Dalton strikes the man in full view of the other hostages, sending a clear message: disobedience will not be tolerated. The room falls silent as everyone absorbs the lesson, and another man hurriedly hands over his keys with trembling hands. Dalton then gives an order that shocks everyone. He commands all hostages to strip to their underwear and put on identical jumpsuits and masks provided by his team. The effect is immediate. Any visual distinction between robbers and hostages is erased. Fear and confusion ripple through the room as people look nervously at one another, realizing they are now part of a stratagem to blur the line between victims and perpetrators. Dalton watches the scene with icy detachment, knowing every detail of his plan is clicking perfectly into place. An elderly bank employee, pale and clutching his chest, begins to complain of a heart condition. His labored breathing and shaking hands catch the attention of the thieves, who exchange quick, calculating glances.
"Get up."
Dalton, assessing the situation, allows the man to leave, knowing a medical emergency could complicate his plans. As the man stumbles out of the bank into the custody of the waiting police, the officer sees an opportunity to question him. Still visibly shaken, the old man describes what he saw inside. "They will kill 2 hostages if you make any move." His words ramp up the tension at the command center. The police quickly note the observations but cannot ignore the possibility that the man's account is incomplete or influenced by fear. Meanwhile, inside the bank, Dalton and his team move with purpose, navigating the hallways past the vault and the rows of safety deposit boxes. They are not looting or smashing valuables, which baffles both the hostages and the police monitoring from outside. Instead, the thieves focus on some type of enigmatic activity in a storage room. Their precise movements suggest this is the true objective of the heist, though no one can yet decipher what they are looking for. At the command center, Captain Darius briefs Frazier and Mitchell on the latest developments. The elderly hostage's testimony offers some insight, but it is far from the full picture. To add to their frustration, the surveillance footage inside the bank is useless. The thieves disabled the cameras upon entry, Darius admits as the tension in the room rises. Mitchell, eager for a lead, turns his attention to the thieves' escape van parked nearby. He begins searching for fingerprints, though he suspects the vehicle is stolen and unlikely to yield anything useful. Frazier, impatient, decides to call the bank. As the phone rings, the officers hold their breath, but Dalton doesn't even look at it. The sound of the unanswered phone is almost a taunt. Moments later, the thieves release another hostage, this time tying a note to his chest. Police rush to secure the man, but chaos erupts when they misidentify him as a potential threat. Profiling him as an Arab terrorist, the officers tackle and handcuff him, drawing the attention of the crowd. After a heated exchange, the man is finally questioned. He angrily confirms the number of thieves, 4, and estimates there are between 20 and 30 hostages still inside. The officers, embarrassed but focused, add his testimony to their file. The note tied to the released hostage raises the stakes. It demands 2 buses and a passenger plane by 9 p.m., threatening to kill 1 hostage every hour if demands are not met. To add weight to his threat, Dalton claims the bank is rigged with plastic explosives. Frazier, however, remains unconvinced. His calm demeanor hides the weight of the decision. His resolve strengthens the team's focus as the clock ticks down. As if the situation weren't complicated enough, Arthur Case arrives unannounced at the police command center. Impeccably dressed, despite his visible anxiety, Case offers to arrange a plane for the thieves, which raises suspicions. Frazier and the other officers are immediately wary.
Where can we reach you if we need anything?
Would you like me to arrange one for you?
Let's let them wonder what we're doing, okay?
Back in the bank, the thieves make another move by requesting food for the hostages. For Frazier, this is the opportunity they've been waiting for. While ensuring the delivery looks routine, the police prepare to smuggle a hidden microphone in with the food. Hoping to finally see what's happening behind closed doors, the thieves choose pizza for the delivery, calculating that the communal meal will encourage the hostages to gather and talk, giving them a morale boost. Outside, the police scramble to exploit the situation.
Okay, I hope the pizzas are okay. They might be a little cold.
Remarks an officer handling the bugs, suggesting they plant a digital pen-shaped recorder inside the delivery box, capable of capturing 30 seconds of audio. It's a small but potentially crucial window into the thieves' operation.
Click it and it'll record for half an hour.
Meanwhile, tensions rise inside the bank. A defiant hostage challenges the thieves, perhaps hoping to rally the others, but the plan fails miserably. Dalton calmly orders his team to use him as an example. The man is dragged through several rooms, his screams echoing and silencing the other hostages. After the display, they lock him in a storage room, quickly neutralizing his act of bravery. When the pizza delivery arrives, the police carefully place the recording device. The thieves receive the food without suspicion, and the officers wait anxiously for the results. However, upon listening to the recording, they are in for a surprise. It's not English, but what sounds like Russian.
Fucking Russians. Call operations.
Detectives immediately go to the released hostages, asking if anyone heard conversations in Russian. While this happens, the thieves stay one step ahead, cleverly rotating the hostages from room to room and mixing them up. This constant shuffling keeps the police guessing about the locations and identities of the hostages. Adding another layer of deception, one of the thieves disguises himself as a hostage and blends in perfectly with the first group. Frustrated but determined, Detective Frazier digs deeper into the mystery of the recorded language. An officer who speaks Russian listens closely, but quickly debunks the theory.
This ain't Russian.
Frazier, always astute, decides to play the recording over a loudspeaker outside the bank, hoping someone in the crowd will recognize the language. Among the murmurs of onlookers, a construction worker steps forward, claiming he recognizes it. He says confidently that it sounds like the language his ex-wife spoke. Intrigued, Frazier has the police track her down. She agrees to help, but only after negotiating to have her accumulated parking tickets wiped. With no other leads, Frazier reluctantly agrees. The woman listens to the recording and bursts into laughter. She reveals it's not a conversation at all, but a speech by Enver Hoxha, the former communist leader of Albania. The thieves had duped the police by using a random recording to derail their efforts. Frazier, though frustrated, can't help but respect the thieves' cunning. He mutters to Mitchell that inside the bank, Dalton and one of his accomplices make their move. They open the vault and retrieve what they were after all along, a specific set of documents. Along with the papers, they take bags of diamonds and a box of valuables. Dalton carefully pockets the documents, the true objective of the robbery, while his partner seals the box, ensuring their loot appears untouched. Around this same time, the mayor of New York arrives at the command center with Madeline White, the enigmatic manager Arthur Case hired. Madeline explains her involvement in vague terms, her calm demeanor masking her sharp intelligence. Detective Frazier, unimpressed and wary of her motives, resists her attempts to interfere. The tension between them grows as the mayor and Madeline subtly hint at consequences if Frazier doesn't cooperate. Frazier's instincts tell him she's hiding something, but he has no choice but to tread carefully. Later, Dalton finally picks up the phone, initiating direct contact with Frazier. Their conversation drips with tension as Dalton reiterates his demands and threatens to kill hostages if they aren't met. Frazier probes, trying to get any useful information, but Dalton remains frustratingly opaque, clearly stalling for time. What Frazier doesn't notice is that Dalton is toying with him, enjoying this game of psychological chess. In an attempt to extend the standoff and keep the hostages safe, Frazier offers more food. Dalton plays along, this time requesting burgers, and the police begin preparing their next move. Meanwhile, the thieves work methodically, completing the excavation of a hole in the storage room, a critical component of their intricate plan. Every move is calculated, every action deliberate, with Dalton overseeing every detail like a maestro conducting an orchestra. Outside, the police remain completely unaware of what is happening beneath their feet. Following his cryptic call with Frazier, Dalton shifts his attention to a new player in the game, Madeline White. Madeline, ever the persuasive negotiator, manages to convince Dalton to meet face-to-face inside the bank. It is a bold move, but she executes it with her characteristic calm and confidence. Upon entering the bank, she is meticulously searched by the robbers before being escorted to Dalton. Their conversation is an intense duel of wits. Madeline offers Dalton a tempting deal, a short prison sentence and $2 million waiting for him upon his release in exchange for the contents of a specific safety deposit box. The terms of her offer are clear, but Dalton is unimpressed. He leans forward, lowers his voice, and drops a bombshell. The contents of that box are incriminating documents revealing the dark past of Arthur Case. Case, the esteemed chairman of the bank, collaborated with the Nazis during World War II while working in Switzerland. The documents expose his role in money laundering and how he profited from assets stolen from Jewish people. Dalton smiles sarcastically, letting the gravity of his revelations sink in. He makes it clear to Madeline that he trusts neither her nor Arthur Case. The documents are not just evidence, they are his life insurance. Dalton says coldly,
He should have destroyed this a long time ago. He didn't, so now it's mine.
His words leave Madeline visibly unsettled, though she tries to hide it. After leaving the bank, Madeline meets with Frazier. She tells him that Dalton is exceptionally intelligent, and that despite his threats, he does not seem to be a killer. Frazier listens intently, and his suspicions about Dalton's deeper motives grow. Frustrated by the lack of progress, Frazier decides it is time to bend the rules. He is convinced that Dalton is always one step ahead, and that the usual playbook will not work. Frazier calls Dalton and offers to provide the plane he requested on one condition. Frazier must be allowed to enter the bank to verify the status of the hostages. After a tense pause, Dalton agrees, setting the stage for another calculated move. Inside the bank, Dalton escorts Frazier through the chaotic but strangely controlled scene. The hostages, still wearing identical jumpsuits and masks, sit in mixed groups. Frazier observes them carefully, noting that they appear unharmed and relatively calm. One hostage catches his eye, a young boy. Frazier pleads with Dalton to release the child, but Dalton refuses in a firm but non-aggressive tone.
Let me take the kid.
No.
Before leaving, Frazier makes a daring move. As they approach the exit, he tries to rip off Dalton's mask to reveal his identity. The room freezes for a moment and tension sparks like electricity. But before Frazier can succeed, another robber intervenes and shoves him back. Dalton, visibly annoyed, reiterates his demands for the buses and warns Frazier not to test his patience again. Back in the command truck, Frazier tells Captain Darius that he does not believe Dalton is a killer and advises the team to hold their position to see what Dalton does next, but Darius grows impatient. The delicate balance of the situation begins to break. Dalton's next call changes everything. He instructs the police to point the surveillance cameras toward a specific window. What happens next shocks everyone. The police witness Dalton appearing to execute a hostage live. Tension at the command center explodes, and Captain Darius immediately removes Frazier from the case to take command personally. Under Darius's leadership, the police prepare for a tactical assault on the bank. He orders the use of rubber bullets to minimize casualties, but the risks remain incredibly high. Mitchell expresses his concern, warning that if the operation goes wrong, Frazier will take the fall. Frazier, though sidelined, remains calm. He tells Mitchell he has made a deal with Madeline, though the details remain unclear. As the clock ticks down, the police move in to storm the bank, unaware that Dalton is orchestrating every moment to perfection. Just as the tactical raid is about to begin, Frazier makes a crucial discovery. Dalton and his team have been listening to every single move they make. Hidden in a supply box, the robbers planted a transmitter to stay one step ahead of the police. Alarmed, Frazier urgently calls Captain Darius to warn him, but Darius, impatient to resolve the conflict, ignores the warning and orders the operation to proceed as planned. Inside the bank, Dalton hears the police preparing for the assault. Staying calm and methodical, he signals his team to execute the final phase of their plan. Smoke bombs are detonated, filling the bank with a dense mist that blinds the tactical unit as they burst into the building. Amidst the chaos, the robbers blend perfectly with the hostages, who are being released en masse. Every person leaving the bank is immediately detained by the police, further complicating efforts to identify the culprits. The tactical unit sweeps the bank with precision, clearing every room, including the vault and the storage area. However, to their astonishment, they find nothing. No robbers, no stolen items, not even the supposed dead hostage who was shot on camera. Adding to the mystery, the police discover that the robbers' weapons were merely replicas. Realistic-looking, but completely harmless toys. The murder turned out to be a carefully orchestrated charade. Outside, the scene becomes increasingly chaotic as the released hostages are grouped together for questioning. Since everyone is dressed identically, distinguishing between hostages and robbers becomes impossible. Frustrated, Captain Darius declares the case closed, insisting there is nothing left to investigate, but Frazier, ever tenacious, refuses to accept defeat. He knows there is more to this story. Later, while reviewing the case, Frazier discovers a clue, a reference to a secret safety deposit box linked to Arthur Case. Digging deeper, he begins to connect the dots between the robbery, Madeline White, and Case's suspicious involvement. Seeking answers, Frazier arranges a meeting with Madeline. With evidence of her and the mayor's blackmail in hand, he confronts her, using that leverage to demand information about the elusive safety deposit box. Madeline, ever the master manipulator, maintains her composure. She offers a cryptic hint about the box's importance and strongly advises Frazier to drop the case. Meanwhile, Madeline meets with Arthur Case to assure him that Frazier will not pose a threat. However, she warns that Dalton still possesses the incriminating documents. Case, visibly shaken, confesses the truth about the contents of the box. In addition to diamonds and sensitive documents, the vault contained a Cartier ring, a piece of jewelry that belonged to a Jewish man betrayed to the Nazis during World War II in exchange for a fortune. The revelation exposes the depth of Case's guilt and how far Dalton went to uncover it. 1 week after the heist, the genius of Dalton's plan is finally revealed. Hidden behind a false wall built in the storage room, Dalton had remained inside the bank the entire time. While the police scoured the premises and questioned the hostages, Dalton stayed in his hiding spot, quietly waiting for the commotion to die down. With the diamonds, the documents, and the Cartier ring in his possession, he emerges from his hideout after a full week. Dressed casually, he walks right out the front door of the bank, blending effortlessly into the bustling crowd. It is the perfect exit, executed with surgical precision. Outside the bank, Dalton's accomplices wait discreetly, ready for the rendezvous. As Frazier and Mitchell arrive at the scene to execute a warrant and open the infamous safety deposit box, Frazier unknowingly brushes past Dalton, who vanishes into the city like a ghost. Inside the vault, Frazier finally opens the mysterious box, only to find its contents as puzzling as they are damning. There is no trace of the documents or the diamonds. Instead, he discovers a piece of chewing gum, the Cartier ring, and a handwritten note from Dalton. The message is succinct but provocative. Follow the ring. Frazier holds the note in one hand and the ring in the other, feeling the weight of the mystery upon him. As he puts the pieces together, the true brilliance of Dalton's plan begins to make sense. The heist wasn't just about money or diamonds, but about exposing a decades-old crime and bringing a powerful man to justice. Frazier, determined to uncover the truth, refuses to abandon the case. Armed with the Cartier ring and his growing suspicions, he confronts Arthur Case in his opulent office. The once confident banker tries to maintain his composure, but Frazier's relentless questioning leaves him visibly trembling. "Armed robbers laid siege to your bank," Frazier says, hinting at Case's involvement in something deeply immoral, choosing his words carefully to sting the old man without directly accusing him. When Frazier places the Cartier ring on the desk between them, its silent presence says everything. Madeline says with a tone of reluctant respect. Frazier simply nods, standing his ground as he turns to leave the stunned pair behind. In the final moments of the film, Frazier returns to his modest apartment. As he takes off his jacket, something falls from his pocket. A small diamond. He picks it up and his mind flashes. Dalton. Somehow, during their brief encounter in the bank, the master thief had slipped the gem into Frazier's pocket. A parting gift, or perhaps a challenge. Frazier sits down, looks at the diamond in his hand, and a smile forms on his lips. It is a silent acknowledgement of the game they played, one built on wit, strategy, and a mutual understanding of the gray areas between right and wrong. Despite their differences, the detective and the criminal share a rare respect for each other's intelligence and resolve. The camera lingers on Frazier's thoughtful expression as he places the diamond on his desk. The world outside his window bustles with city life, oblivious to the secret battles fought within its walls. The screen fades to black, leaving the audience to reflect on the moral complexities of justice, power, and the brilliance of Dalton Russell's perfect crime.